Hello and welcome to Remember Me.
The stories of our babies. I am Eli's mum, Chelsea Tukey.
And I'm Mila's mum, Helena. In this podcast, we'll be talking all about the stories and memories of our babies while they were alive, from womb to world.
Here we will ask you the questions that no one ever asks you after your baby dies. Let's humanise their existence and give dignity to their passing whilst breaking the taboo of baby loss.
If you're listening for the first time, this is what you can expect from episodes featuring other parents. We usually like to get into conversations and ask questions that no one tends to ask after our babies die. For the purpose of this podcast, we decided to separate the sections into three. The first set of questions, we ask parents about themselves. Then we hear the story of their babies whilst they're alive. And the very last part is to share what happened to their babies. We do this so that if anything becomes too triggering for our listeners, you can tap out and revisit another day or just listen to the first half. So when you hear us asking, what was your journey to parenthood, or tell us about what happened to your baby, that will be the moment where parents will talk about the moment their babies passed away. Thank you for listening.
Hello, everyone. On this episode, we have a special mummy coming here to speak about her precious little boy. And I'm just going to give it straight ahead. And Wunmi, could you tell us what your baby's name is? And go from there.
Hello, so I'm Wunmi, and my son is called Kayode. It's a Yoruba name, actually. It means he who brings joy and happiness, just all that brightness. So I just felt like the name was perfect for him. So
it's such a gorgeous name. I'll ask more questions about the name, but I forgot to ask about you, actually. So I would love to just get to know who you were before you became a mum, and obviously how this journey has changed you completely, like who you were and who you are now, just so we can get some context.
So before I was a mum, I was just it's such a hard question, because I think for me I was just like a normal average person. I was really, I guess my main thing was that I was really into fitness. That was a big part of my personality. I'm a very outgoing person, very family and friends orientated. So I'd say I just spend a lot of time with my family and friends, doing activities on a holiday, just generally happy life. I'm not gonna lie and say that I haven't had other things that happened to me before Kayode's death. I had other stuff that I was dealing with them, but overall, an okay, happy life. So, don't know what else to say. But
That's good enough. And who do you feel like? And I'm sure this always changes because each day is different, each moment is different. But who or what do you feel has become of you since Cody's death?
Oh, well, since he's died, I'll try not to be so negative because, but if I'm honest, since he's died, I am just a shell of myself, if I'm honest. It's, oh gosh, I tried to get emotional, but I'm literally just a shell of myself. I'm spend a lot of time inside the house. I'm not as active as I used to be. Even from just how I look. I just, even though I'm sure people say, oh no, you don't look that different. They're just being polite. I know I look different. I just feel so much of my personality is just, it's just kind of died with him. And I'm so different. I don't work at the same, I don't even know how to put it. Is it function or standard as I used to be? I'm still currently off sick, and I've been off sick for a while. And even so, I'm quite flexible, I'm quite free during the day. But even just little tasks just seem massive, and it's rubbish because before he died, it'd be if I was off work, I'd be at the gym, catching the housework, doing this, what it's you have just jam-packed days, and you're just running around, you're not even thinking. But now I'm just I'm quiet, a lot more quiet. withdrawn, I'll be honest. I'm trying to think of positive things. I'd say I'd appreciate like smaller things in life now. That I didn't used to, like, like now if I manage to go for a walk, I'm like, well done me. As before, like to go for a walk, I'd be like, oh, that's nothing with me. Like you've done nothing all day. But now I'm just like, yay! Like, you went for a walk, well done you. But yeah, like it's a tough question to answer because I'm trying not to be so like negative. But I also want to be real and be like this version of me after he died. It's not the best version of me. It's not a happy version, but I'm hoping with time that will change. But for now, I'll be honest, it's not. I'm not the best. I'm not the best me at all. Yeah.
And it's only natural, like, and I feel like, once you experience something like this, we do have to allow ourselves and permit ourselves to feel these things, because that's exactly how it feels. Like, you do feel a shell of yourself. You don't put any effort. Honestly, like, I have the same sentiments. Like, I remember today, for example, I did my makeup, which is something that I rarely do when I'm coming to work. I work 2 days a week in the office, and sometimes I'm literally on the tube and I look at my reflection. I'm like, who is that? You know? And so I completely understand what you're saying. And you're right. Like the smaller things, like walking, that is a big thing. Like, it takes a lot to even be able to get out there. So yeah, you don't have to find the positives, because what is really the positive, But I understand also trying to look for that light anyway, because we have to keep, unfortunately, going. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
we
mean,
don't
actually,
have
I
to.
do have a positive that I am more into like reaching into like the arty side of me. Like I've always been quite like I guess more of like a theatre kid, like, went to like performing arts
Same.
school and like, did the acting and the singing and all that and the dancing. So I've always been into kind of that side of like the arts, but because I'm just not that motivated, I'll be honest with you. I've had to like look at other creative ways. So like I do a lot of like I write poetry, that I'm sure you've read some. So just little things like that have been really, really good and been really positive. So there is some positive, but everyone that's it. So that's been nice. Like reaching into a side of me that I was like, oh, I didn't know I was like really that into poetry. I mean, I've always written, I guess, like when I was younger, like, I had the diary and I feel like I just had a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed. But yeah, so to be writing poetry, like, actually sitting down and doing it properly, that's been nice. Even though it's bad poetry, it's still, at least I kind of feel like I'm using my creativity and it's not movement, but it's still something. So yeah.
Honestly, like I feel like same as you in terms of like being a theatre kid and stuff. Like I literally grew up in the theatre, and for me, creativity has been the thing that I'm holding on to, because it allows us to express those feelings. Your poetry is amazing. It's so beautifully written.
Oh, yeah.
It's to the core. It is, like, let me tell you, let me shower you with that, because it's beautiful and it expresses exactly what it feels like, right? And it's ugly in the sense of like, this is ugly, right? And I don't know, I just feel like creativity and the ability to express how we feel in those very dark moments allows for some kind of release somehow. Like it just allows for that. And for some people it might be the running. Like I know there's moms who do running and that's their thing. I know you do that as well. There's so many things that we can do just to be able to survive, really. And then it becomes this whole other thing that gives birth to something that's connected to our child. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what we need, and we should allow ourselves to do that, because the world doesn't allow us to do that, and it pisses me off that it
No.
doesn't.
No.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in saying all of that, let's hear about so how do we pronounce it properly?
So it's pronounced Kayode. Kayode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kayode.
Yeah. Some people call him Kai for short, but I prefer Kayode because
Yeah, that's his name, so
yeah.
we're going to stick to that. So how did you decide this name?
So I before long before he was born, and before I think I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to have a child. I've always been like, I want them to have a Yoruba name. So my partner's English, and it's weird because like growing up, I didn't grow up with like loads of like Nigerian friends, and like people would butcher my name, and you'd think I'd want to run away from having a Nigerian name. But there's something about it that I was like, I really, really want my child to have a Yoruba name. I want it to be, I want them to be able to like, you see their name and other people from Nigeria would be like, oh, they're from Nigeria. This is the tribe they're from. I'm really like something about that I really like, that sense of that belonging and just that, I don't know. I was like big on having a Yoruba, and I even said to partner, like, if I'm not going to be pregnant and having to deliver this child, they're going to have a Nigerian Yoruba name. And I was quite firm on that. But his name, I don't know where I heard it, but I heard it somewhere. I think it was probably just me just looking at names, but it was before I was pregnant. So it was always been in my head, that name. And then I found the meaning of it. And then I was like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful name, Radichala. And that was just always in my head. And then so I found out I was pregnant. And it was the first name I said to my partner. And I remember him being like, oh, I'm going to need like a few more names to decide. It can't just be from the first one decided. And throughout the whole pregnancy, I would like send him other names, other like Nigerian names. And I was just like, I know it's going to be Kayode. Like, and then we found out he was a boy. I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I think I was like calling him Kayode anyway from the get-go. Yeah, because I was just like, well, you know, kind of. And as soon as he was born, there was literally like no discussion. It was just that was his name, Kayode. Yeah, you know, I remember. Yeah, so it's always kind of just been. It's always been there, and it was just so perfect. Like when I say his name, I'm obsessed with his name. Like anytime I see his name, to write his name, and when people say his name, like I love it. Just because I don't know what it is about his name. I've always felt like it was just so perfect, even before he was born. And then when I saw him, I was just like, bang! I was right. I knew he was kind. I knew he was a kind. I knew it. But yeah.
Wow, it's gorgeous. And I love how much you love that name, and it's in your roots as well. And that's one thing about Nigerians, right? So I'm Angolan, but Nigerians will stick to their root. It doesn't. You can take a Nigerian out of Nigeria, put them in Alaska, put them in Antarctica, but they will stick to their roots. And I love that, and you should be, you know, and to pass that on to your child who's also, you know, is mixed heritage and still have that, you know, that stuck to the culture is just beautiful. What's his full name?
So his full name is Kayode Arthur Babalola Fellows. So Arthur is my partner's like family middle name. Like his nephew's got the same middle name, and then like his granddad as well. It's had the same middle name. I think somebody else in the family. Yeah, and so it's just like a family. And I really really liked the name Arthur, and again, it's weird. I remember hearing like Arthur is like a name in his family, like again, years before we had planned to have a baby, and I'd just been like, oh, it's a nice British like traditional name. I really like that. And like the meaning as well for Arthur, and Arthur was like means like strength and brave, and like they're just all of it. So I was just like, so it literally just fit perfectly. Like I love like his full name. When I see his full name in it, Kayode Arthur Babalola Fellows, it just feels like such a strong. And like, there's so much, there's stories.
Very poetic as well, actually.
It is. Honestly, it's perfect. Like it's like, you know, I just feel like his name just has so much stories. Like, you know, like he's got both our last names, so like Fellows and Babalola. And even just from that, it's just so, his name was perfect.
Oh, I love hearing mums speak about their babies like this. Like it's just so much love, and you're glowing as well. How was your pregnancy like?
God, pregnancy. So my pregnancy wasn't great. Like I was sick pretty much from the get-go. I think so I found out I was pregnant around like 4 or 5 weeks. I think I had one week which we had a wedding, and that was like at 6 weeks. So we went to a wedding, and I was okay at that wedding. I remember being like, oh, maybe I've like escaped this sickness, because I was feeling a bit rough, and then it kind of went down a bit, and I was like, oh, maybe it's not too bad. And then when I say after we came up from this wedding weekend, and literally like the Monday, oh my God, I felt so ill. It was, I don't know what my hormones had done, but I don't know if it hasn't even peaked yet, because I was like, that was like 6 weeks and a bit. I felt so nauseous. I was like, what is going on? I was throwing up, and I was like, this is it. And everyone's like, oh, it's all part of it. Trimester one. But it just kept getting worse. Like, it kept I just kept getting more sick, and it was depressing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was just like, what is this? And I think the annoying thing, when it's like the first trimester, everyone's just like, oh, it's normal. It's part of it. It'll go. Wait till trimester 2. You'll get all your energy back. So me being me, I waited for trimester 2. And I waited and I waited. Trimester 2 came, I was still sick. I was like horrifically sick. Like, I remember even like when I went to the GP, I think I was like maybe like 8 weeks at this point. So like the first appointment I had at the GP about my sickness. And even she was just like, it will pass. And they gave you some, I can't remember what they gave me, but it was rubbish anti-sickness tablets. And I remember even being like, oh, she was like, even like, oh gosh, you sure you don't have like twins? Because I was just so ill. But no, it was just, Kayode just wanted to make his presence very known from the get-go. So I was throughout my pregnancy, I had hyperemesis, so I was diagnosed with that. So I was like in hospital with that. Obviously had to be off work. I tried to go to work, but with my job, like I'm a nurse. I wasn't even making it to handover because I was like vomiting. So it wasn't a great pregnancy. I also missed Beyoncé. I had tickets. Yeah, I know. Don't even get me started.
I remember you said, oh gosh.
I was fuming, and I was so determined to go. I remember I had a sick bag as well, and I remember like I was just getting loads of sick bags with me. I'll make the train there. I'll do anything for my queen. I'll make it there. Yeah, it was like, I remember my friend be like, "Oh my God, you must be really ill if you're not coming." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I feel like I'm dying. Like I was crawling. Like there's days that I was literally crawling around the house because I just had no energy. I was just like, I feel so ill, So in and out of hospital, had other things as well. I was like severely constipated because of my anti-sickness tablets. So I was on 5 different anti-sickness tablets towards the end. I know it was awful, which then caused extreme constipation. But like you easily get constipated when you're pregnant anyway. So when I mean it was bad. So I had to go to hospital for that as well, which is very dignified. But my pregnancy was really, really rubbish. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I could. I wish I had this really nice pregnancy, but I didn't. Towards the end, it wasn't too bad. Like I feel like once the 5 tablets had kicked in, and I was like the hormones were.
How long did that take then? What week would you say it was like? Okay, this is all right. I guess
I was like moving and grooving a little bit. I'd say 30 weeks, maybe 28, 30 weeks. Because I remember I had my baby shower at 30 weeks, 32 weeks, around that time. Because he was born at 37 plus 2. And for my baby shower, I was like, I felt good. And I remember that the week leading up to it, like slowly I'd been feeling like a little bit more human. And I remember thinking, oh, thank God, because baby shower would just come. And so I was feeling a little better towards the end. But again, that was literally only towards the end. I mean, he was a month later. So
wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a great pregnancy.
Can you just explain a little bit more about is it hyperemesis you said,
hyperemesis,
hyperemesis. Can you explain for the people who don't really know what the symptoms are like, what it actually is? How do you even identify that? I mean, surely after a while you're like, yeah, this is what it is. But can you just explain what that is?
Yeah, so HG, and I'm going to call it that because I know someone's going to be like, she's pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, that's why I was like,
Yeah. So HG. So it's a severe sickness in pregnancy, not morning sickness. It's just severe sickness. So and nausea as well. Don't forget the nausea. So for me, my symptoms were vomiting. Like literally those days where I'd have like water and vomit. Like back to back vomiting. And then the annoying thing is that they don't really, well, I say they don't. I didn't officially get an official diagnosis till like I was after the second trimester, and I was like in hospital for like a week and a half or whatever because of it. Before that, they're just kind of like, oh, it's just sickness, or you don't get the best medication as well, because I feel like you can have to like weirdly prove that you're really, really sick. And after it goes past a certain point, then they're like, okay, yeah, you're really ill. So it was just extreme vomiting and sickness and going past trimester one. But even before trimester one, like I was just so much ill than the average person that I think I remember my GP when I did go for that first appointment, she did actually say, "Oh, it might, be hyperemesis, or it might get better within the next trimester." But it's literally just vomiting and sickness, and just hoping that your GP will listen to you and take you seriously, and not just be like, "Oh, just wait a minute, it'll go," because it doesn't go.
Wow, so it's one of those things like whatever you put in your mouth.
It just. Without like the tablets, I couldn't keep food down. Like once the tablets started working, and I think I was on I remember at one point when I was just on the one tablet, didn't do anything, and then I got like 2 or 3, and after like 3rd or 4th tablets, I was like able to just like keep food down. I was still really like nauseous. I was able to eat, and then so I was just able to like function, but I still felt like so nauseous. I can't even explain to you. It's like I'd say it's like a hangover, but a hangover doesn't even cover it. It's worse than a hangover. So even though I was vomiting less towards the end, I still felt so rubbish. So yeah.
I can imagine. Because now I was going to ask you things like, what were your cravings? What food aversions did you have? But I feel like,
Oh no, I still had.
Did you still have that? Okay, yeah, go on, tell us.
I still had cravings. I was like, so my thing was chestnuts. Yeah, weird. Prawn crackers, Aldi prawn crackers. Had to be from Aldi, because I remember once trying to buy it from, I think, Co-op, because it was close to me, and it just didn't hit the same. Had to be Aldi. What else? That was like the main one. I just used to get like a lot of chestnuts and prawn crackers. I don't know why, but I just really, really liked it at the start. And I still had like I'd be hungry as well. I think that was like one of the worst points in my premises, is that I'd be hungry and then be like then really, really nauseous, and then it would scare me off food. But I did still, I definitely still had cravings. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? There was a point where I was really, really craving like Nigerian food, which I was like, I dare not even try, because the spice level would finish me off. But I remember there was one point, and I actually remember like my younger brother, bless him, he was like, "Oh, I'll order you some food. Let me order you some Nigerian food." My young brother's literally amazing. He was like, "Let me just order you some food so you can like try and eat. If that's what you want, just like I'll get you some food." Bear in mind, he lives in Crawley, so he doesn't even live in the same city as me.
Oh, wow.
He is.
Oh, bless.
I was just like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he did order it, and it did go to like I did order it, and it did go to waste." But but it was just, I think I like feel that I was going to eat it, and I was just like, no, this jollof rice is not getting eaten. I was just like, but yeah.
Wow, what a journey! What a roller coaster that sounds like.
It was.
Wow, bless you. And I guess you missed out on Beyoncé, but from your pregnancy, did you have any places or things that you did that stand out from those moments in pregnancy? Or like, what's your partner's name again? Sorry. Charlie. We'll go there first, and then I'll ask the next question. Yeah.
So like what moments that I went, so we actually got to, so towards the end of my pregnancy, when like my nausea was better, we ended up going away. And I remember that was really, really nice. And it was that week as well. Again, I had such a nice week with my sickness that week, and I was so anxious about going away, because I was just like, oh, this is going to be rubbish. Like the plane's going to make me feel sick. I'm gonna like hate the whole thing. Why we're going? But actually, that week, I remember I was only like throwing up in the mornings. So we had a really, I say only, but I was only throwing up in the mornings. So like, I actually got to like enjoy like the breakfast. And I remember there was like we went to the beach and there was just like this little bar by the beach. I didn't even say where we went. Where did we go? Oh my God, I've forgotten where we went. That's so bad. No, Gran Canaria. Was it Gran Canaria? Yeah. Well, so it was only, it wasn't far. And I remember, like, we went to the beach there, and there was like a little bar there, and obviously I had a mocktail. I can't remember what I had, but it was just a really nice mocktail. So I had a drink, and we both just sat there, just like really like happy at peace. And I remember there's like a photo of me, and I was in orange dress, and the partner's got a photo of me, and it's like me like just turned, like just looking at him, and I just looked so happy. And I know at that point I was just like, oh, this isn't too bad. Yeah, and I remember thinking, oh, this isn't too bad. I definitely could do this again. Like,
oh okay. God, the gaslighting.
Yeah.
Of you.
I got a bit of sun on my face, had myself a little mocktail, and I forgot all my troubles. And I remember that like, moments like that, I really have nice moments. And that was just like a really just nice like holiday. Obviously, that was like our baby moon, and like, oh, that really, the last holiday with just the two of us kind of thing. So even though it's just sad, but it still has like really, really nice memories, because it was like kind of meant to be our last holiday, the two of us. So it was, yeah. Even though I booked the wrong hotel.
Oh,
that holiday.
So then, what happened?
Yeah, so baby brain, don't leave me in charge of booking the hotel.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I ended up, again, this is actually a really funny holiday. So we started off at the wrong hotel, but we didn't actually, I didn't even realize that I booked the wrong hotel. It was my partner that realized, but it was too late. It was similar to the other hotel anyway. So we stayed. We did call Jet2 to try and change, but it was too much faff, and the hotel was fine. So
okay, so it wasn't like
it wasn't. No, it was.
Like, yeah.
I felt so bad. I was just like, I remember literally the night I got there, and I was sat in bed, and like Charlie was like, "I think this is the wrong hotel," and I was like, I'm literally in bed, just looking at him like, I'm so sorry. Like, I think I did cry. I was like,
oh yeah, because you get emotional, isn't it? Wow.
But that was a funny moment in pregnancy. So even though I don't know where I was going that episode, but it was really funny actually when you look back. So pregnancy brain.
Yeah. Honestly, pregnancy brain is something else. And then obviously mum brain afterwards, and apparently it stays with you forever. So
well, yeah, it must be.
Yeah. And then grief brain on top of that, like, come on, give us a break.
Oh no.
So I was gonna ask about Charlie and Kayode. What was their relationship like whilst he was in the tummy? Like,
I think for a lot of men, it's just, I think it's like really, really hard for them, because I can't imagine. But I know from like when I was pregnant, I think Charlie was like very, very much focused on like making sure, obviously I was okay. I think it was hard for him because I was so ill, and he was just more like very concerned about me. I just sometimes think, oh, I hope I didn't like block that kind of moment with them, because it was just me just being like, don't touch me, I'm so miserable. But I just like literally, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't like exactly like, oh, rubbing my belly and we're just like, leave me alone, I'm ill. So this is a really, like, I'm thinking, how am I even gonna answer this question? I might have like blocked his bonding moments. I'm not gonna lie, but like, in terms of, I think for like Charlie, because he's a very like hands-on person anyway. In terms of like him bonding when I was pregnant, it was just, I think he just wanted to like get prepared, get ready, get organized, know what to do. I think that was kind of more of his way to do it, because I just think, I don't know, I've heard about, for men, it's really, really difficult for them to. I know some like men obviously like sing and say stuff, and to be fair, I do remember whenever it is they can hear you, they grow ears and stuff, and they can actually hear you. I do remember being like, so like, oh no, like he can hear you now, and would like speak to him. I was like, speak to him, because he actually can like fully hear you now. So in terms of like emotional moments where he was singing or anything like that. I can't say we've got a story like that.
Yeah. Which is absolutely fine, right? Especially because you were so ill as well. Like, he must have been so worried about just making sure that you're okay. Like,
Oh my gosh.
obviously making sure Kayode is okay as well, but like, he's seeing you like in distress. So
Yes, he was. Me like on the bathroom floor, and I just turn and look at him, and his face is like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, oh my god, are you all right? Like literally, in the amount of time, are you all right? Is everything I can do? Like, just patting my back, and be like, is this meant to be like this? And I'm just like, no. So yeah,
because they do feel helpless, don't they? It's just like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, completely understand. And so back to Kayode. When was he born? I don't know. Have I asked this already? No.
No, he was born on the 23rd of December, 23, 23, 12, 23. Again, even like his date of birth, the numbers, I really, really like the numbers. His date of birth, 23, 12, 23. So,
Yeah. So he's a Capricorn, right? Or is he the one before?
yes, I think so.
He's a Capricorn.
Like my friend told me, he is a Capricorn. He was meant to be born, his due date was actually the 11th of January. But I obviously had preeclampsia as well, on top of everything.
Oh, was it diagnosed? Did you know?
No, so I didn't know. I didn't know any. So basically, like the week he ended up being born, I woke up one day and I felt off, and I couldn't tell you what it was. I just know that the days before I was getting so puffy and so swollen. Like I remember, like me and my partner, like, God, my toes look like sausages, and we were just like, funny, whatever. Like not even thinking of a thing. I was just getting really puffy. But again, it's all you get told. This is all part of pregnancy, blah blah blah.
Yep.
And then like one day I just felt off, and like I felt like I had a little bit of a headache, but I wasn't quite sure. But again, I was like, oh, I'm nauseous. And good thing, I had a really good midwife. Like she's brilliant. Because I was actually part of the home birthing team. I was meant to have a home birth, so I remember calling her, and she was just like, it sounds like nothing, but maybe call a triage and just see what they say, like call the hospital to listen. I told them how I felt, that, I don't actually think there's anything wrong with me. Like I feel, and they were like, oh no, well just come in anyway, just because I've had a tough pregnancy.
Thank
and
God.
They know me.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're just like, I think thank God, but So they said come in, and I did my blood pressure. And the blood pressure was so high. It was like, I can't remember, it was like 160 something. It was just, it was high. And it was mad because I'm just sat there, like, just fine. Like, literally, this is the craziest thing. Like, just completely fine. My blood pressure is so high. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm like, how did I not feel this? Like, and the next minute, literally, I was still at triage, and then the doctor was just started talking to me about C-sections, and I was like, oh. I was like, wait a minute. He literally I was like, you've just left the room and come back, and now we're talking about C-sections. He was like, yeah, your like blood pressure is really high, and they were like really concerned really quickly. Like before I knew it, I was on the ward. I was given tablets before I even got on the ward because of the like that. They're like, yeah, you need. So I had that, and then I remember, telling my partner, and then I got moved to a ward, and then I was, I was induced. So they were waiting to see maybe it will get things going naturally, because I was just a bit like, oh, okay. And then, but I was induced, and then I was just not moving along. I wasn't progressing at all. Like I remember when it started, and I was in so much pain. But it was I remember trying to pretend I wasn't in pain as well, because that's just how.
Oh yes, I'm like that as well. That's a problem.
It's so annoying, isn't it?
No, we need to stop doing that. That's not okay.
Just being I remember I literally had my headphones on, and I was walking up and down the ward, listening to a podcast, and was just like, oh my God. I mean, literally, I was like, I'm in so much pain. I was walking up down, even Mitch was like, you all right, Mummy? And I was like, yeah. Just thinking, what is this pain? I was like, oh my, I was like, am I gonna die? But I was like, maybe this is fine. Don't worry. Don't like, don't complain too much about it. And then they came and checked me, and then she was like, "You're only 1 centimeter." I said, 1 centimeter, and I've been in all that pain. So this isn't right. I said, this isn't. I was like, how do women get to 10 centimeters? Because I literally was in so much pain, and I wasn't showing it, and then like his heart rate just kept dropping, and there just wasn't happy. The next minute, I know it was boom. Have an emergency C-section, and even after that, I'm not gonna lie, I was like really like overwhelmed and like scared. But I think I've hit it really well. Like you wouldn't have known that I was anxious, overwhelmed, and didn't want any of this. But I just thought, just how I am, just keep it together. But I remember like before they were gonna take me to surgery, like I said, the doctor, whoever, I was like, oh, is there any chance of it, like, you waiting a bit so I can do it naturally, or like I can at least do it? And literally, I remember, like, the one news, they wanted me to have this baby because the guy was like, I will give you an hour, if that. And if his heart rate is still not great and I'm happy, this baby's coming out. And he was like, I remember he was quite firm, like, it's okay. Like, we didn't even make the hour. I think it was like 30 minutes or whatever, and yeah, they were like, yeah, you gotta go. So we so we had emergency C-sections, not what I wanted. Like I said, I was planned to have a home birth, and I just felt like it just took it away from a lot of, I don't know, it just felt all very clinical, and I think I was in state of shock. So like, even when after like he came out and like they give him, like they put him on your face, and I remember he was just there. They just had him like on my face, and I was just so awkward. I was just like, I remember he said to the lady, I was like, take him now. Like, I was like, please take him, because which was awful. I look back and think I wasn't like, oh, my baby. I was literally just like, he's on my face. Like, why do you put him on my face? I'm in a state of shock. I was just lying there. Bye. Like, yeah, so my partner was there. But yeah, it was mad. I can't get over how quickly it happened. Like, everything was just like.
So you're telling me that you felt this headache, and you called the same day saying that you were feeling this headache, and the same day you had Kayode, right?
The next day, because it was like we'd been there for like after midnight.
Yeah.
So it was in the morning, so like around like 6, 7. I got so lucky with the fact that like I was listened to, because I didn't know. Like it wasn't like, oh no, my headache is really bad. I literally was just like, I remember I came there with my packet of Haribos in my bag, my little water bottle with me, just like not even like, just not thinking, oh.
But do you think that's because of your HG as well?
Yeah. So because
you were already high risk,
I
right?
feel like,
that's considered high risk.
I was essentially, because I'd been in and out of hospital there, and even like with my constipation and like just how foolish my pregnancy was, I just felt like maybe when I called, like first I called like my midwife as well, and then I called triage, I felt like they just, I don't know, took me more seriously. I don't know, maybe I just got lucky that day. But like, and then literally I was there, blood pressure was done. I think they'd done it again, given the tablet, boom, bang, and then next day in the morning, he was here. And I know that's not how it happens for a lot of people, especially for like, preeclampsia. I never thought I'd get preeclampsia. Like, I didn't.
It's so common for Black women. It is so common. Do you know how I've started to realize how common the fact that you said that, and I was like, what? That's another Black woman that I know who's got. I had a friend of mine who had her daughter, and she got eclampsia. So after, so it's like, it's very, very common. And, why are they not telling? Especially, I know a lot of people are like, fear mongering, this, that, and the other. I don't really care. But it's like, especially if it's happening a lot to us, then we need to know. Like, just, the same way about gestational diabetes, we know that it happens to a lot of Black and Asian women. Do the same thing.
Yeah. It's serious.
But there's something that it's deadly.
Yeah,
it's fatal.
for both of you. I didn't even like, naively, even me, like I remember I was shocked how quickly they started getting the ball rolling when they was like, yeah, you think you've got preeclampsia, da 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 da. I was like, oh shit, this is serious. And like I remember even like even like my partner had doubts about. They're like, he was like, "Are you sure you need to have a C-section now? Like, isn't it, is it stats? Can they wait or what? And I was just like, and I remember the midwife literally saying to me, she was like, because I was like to her, I was like, can't I just wait a bit? Like, how serious is it? Blah, blah. And she was like, because I was like, oh, my blood pressure has gone back to normal now. And she was like, Mum, you're on tablets. That's why it's gone back to. She's like, it's not even. Yeah, she's like, it's not even that low, and you're on medication. And I was like, oh, okay.
But Wunmi, this is the thing, though. This is the thing. The fact that both you and both you and Charlie were advocating for the fact of like, okay, yeah, but we would like a natural birth, or a vaginal birth, sorry, not natural. We'd like a home birth, even all of this stuff. The reason why you don't realize how deep it is because you were never made aware that it even is a thing. You don't even really know what preeclampsia is. It's just a word at this
I'm
point,
not,
really.
yeah.
And it's like, and even the fact, I wanted to ask you, so you said you wanted a home birth. Even with your HG, what kind of gave you that, which is fine, absolutely having a home birth, but what was the thing that was like, I need to have a home birth?
I just didn't want it to be clinical. I didn't want to be. I think in my head when I was pregnant and I was like, I'll have a baby, I had this like vision of what my birth was going to be like, and it was going to be as holistic and zen and like just not clinical as ever. And actually, because of my HG, I then was like, I definitely didn't want it to be clinical. I wanted to be at home. If I was going to be feeling rubbish and in pain, I wanted to be at home in my own space, with a midwife that I've known, like, I've known her from the beginning, and she's lovely. Like, birthing team in Birmingham, give them a shout out. They're incredible. Even after we ended up in a hospice, they still were involved in, checking on us. So like that's what I wanted. And then especially after I met my midwife as well from home birthing team and just the team, I was like, I'm in good hands here. I can do this. But yeah, so that was the only reason why there was no like actual.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against obviously home births or even what's the other one? Because I wanted to have not a home birth. What's the other one that you do?
Is it looking the birth you in the birthing center?
Birthing center.
Yeah,
that's
birthing
it.
Center.
I'm not even opposed to those things 100%. I just think if we have the right tools in terms of the education, like fully understand what each thing is, like the vocabulary of what things we should look out for, so we know that, okay, I might have preeclampsia because I'm swelling and now I have a headache and now this is happening. Perhaps it's probably not safest to do it at home. It's probably safer. Do you know, like that kind of level of reasoning that we don't have, I think, and that's why even when they're telling you need a C-section, you're like, do I really need a C-section?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
it's
it
mad.
was so like I was like, the fact that, like I told you, the doctor that said, you've got an hour, like it doesn't. And there was no reason. I just really wanted to. And I think myself, I just didn't realize like how serious it was. Like you're saying, like you're right. People need to know it is serious. And I think for me, because mine was late term, it wasn't spotted until much later. But then like there was a lot of things after he was born. So I had issues with not say issues. I didn't know, but my placenta was, so after he was born, then my placenta didn't look right. It was like it was grainy and like grey color, just didn't look like it should. So they actually ended up taking it for testing, and it came back that had clots in it, which would have I can't remember if they said it would have caused a preeclampsia, but it would have been certainly like affect. Yeah, and would explain why Kayode was so small. Well, he was 5'7", 5'6" is bad. I'm really bad with numbers. But he was like I love my baby, but sometimes dates and numbers, I'm like,
Numbers, no.
It was like 5, 6, and essentially he was full term, even though it was like 37 plus 1. So, but he was small, and they said it is literally because of like the clotting, which then with the preeclampsia. Basically, there was a lot going on that I didn't know. That meant that really, things potentially, if I wasn't listened to and I didn't act as quick as I acted, or didn't feel confident enough to say anything to like my midwife, and wasn't sure, it wouldn't have been a good outcome, because essentially my placenta was struggling to keeping him fed properly and keeping the girl. And I feel like that the late-term preeclampsia was like placing my body just be like, we're done. We've had enough. Luckily I was listening, but I know a lot of women don't get listened to, and it's, honestly, I was just like, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing, bro. But but thank you for sharing all of that. I wanted to now give you the opportunity to tell us everything. I would love for you to tell us about Kayode whilst he was alive, because you got to spend a significant, I say significant, but you got to spend time with him, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear that. And then I would also love to hear, what happened to him in your own words, whatever you feel like you feel best to share it. And thank you.
So after he was born, we spent a week and a half in hospital after he was born, because he was, I think, a combination of like me and him being born a bit early, and then he was really jaundiced, which is something that I actually spotted, because there was just something a bit off, and I was like, oh, I don't know if his skin color's right, but again, and then they found out he was actually very, very jaundiced, and he needed like quadruple light therapy. So like literally they wheeled him down, and I remember hysterically crying for that, because I just got him in the room with me, and then they took him away. So he was in the NICU there for a bit, but he was fine. He was doing great. Just needed a bit more light on him. But so that went fine, and then we eventually got to go home after what felt like forever. It felt like the longest week and a half of my life, because I think I was obviously there from before because of the preeclampsia, and then he was born, and so I was there. It felt like I was there forever, and it was like, don't get me wrong, like the staff were really good, but I was so ready to go home. So, but even at the time that he was there, it was just me and him in the hospital. Like we definitely it was just so nice, like connecting with him, and it was just crazy after the shock of the C-section ward up, just having him like holding him and just being like, oh my God, I can't believe we just had a baby. So yeah, we eventually went home, and when we went home, it was I wish I could say it was just bliss, but I really, really struggled when we got home. I was just really, really, really exhausted. Mentally, I wasn't great. I'll be honest with you. I think the effects of just the pregnancy, hyperemesis, emergency C-section, everything, and then being in hospital, and then when we came home, it literally just, everything felt like it hit me like a ton of bricks. So when we went home, I wasn't the best, but he was fantastic. He was just, oh my God, like, even though he was so small, and he still had to have blood tests. So like the midwives were coming and we're doing daily blood tests for a few days after we got home. He was just so perfect. Like anyone that came and saw him was just like, oh my God, he's so cute. He used to throw his head back loads. I'm like, you are so small. How do you even have the energy to throw your head back with so much aggression? Like, I remember doing oh my gosh. And he hardly ever he didn't really cry and scream. He was just such a chilled baby. Like he'd do his little moans, but he was just so chilled. And just this little tiny bundle of joy, and his hair, he had so much hair. Like honestly, we had a little comb for him because he just had so much hair already. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what am I gonna do when he grows up and he's had all this hair? I can't even look after my own hair. Like I'm shaving his hair off because I'm not dealing with all of that. Honestly, I'm such a 3-year mother. But I literally was already thinking, I was like, yeah, this hair's coming off because I'm not dealing with that in the morning, that biracial curly hair. No. I said, no, you're not a girl. It's fine. No one's gonna tell me if I shave your hair off. But yeah, so he was just, and honestly, and just, he was just perfect. Like, he was just a perfect baby. Like, he wasn't like I said, he would be screaming at the top of his voice. Like, when you fed him, he just ate fine. He was just baby, just slept fine. And yeah, he liked to be held just like every other baby. And he spent most of his time in my hands, just being held by me or Charlie, or Charlie's mum, who's there quite often. She was again massive help. She literally helps me pack my hospital bag because obviously I wasn't organised enough to actually finish packing it, and then I ended up getting told, "Oh, you're having this baby." So yeah, so like being at home with him, and then like my cat got to meet him. Anyone that knows me knows that I love Simba, and like it was even from like when I was like pregnant, Simba was like sleeping on my stomach a lot. So I was just like, they're already bonded. So when we eventually brought him home and they got to meet each other, I was just like, once Simba isn't scared of him, they're going to be best friends. Because he was definitely terrified at first. But it was just so nice in at home. It was just very peaceful with him. Like my mum and dad came and met him while we were here. And like, it's... Honestly, we didn't do much. Like, especially like with me, like I look back and think, oh, I wish I did the whole taking him for his first walk. Like, I didn't do that because I think, I'll be honest, my mental health wasn't great. So like getting out the house and taking him for walks and stuff, I really, really wish I did that at the start, but I didn't, and I didn't, trying not to get emotional, but, I didn't know. And it's hard when you feel like, no one talks about how rubbish you feel postpartum. Like, obviously everyone's different. Some people come home and they're like, oh my God, great. But for me, I'll be honest, I felt so rubbish. And I felt like that meant that I didn't make some of the memories that I would have loved to have done with him, because I was just so like, oh my God, I was in a state of shock. I'm not going to lie to you. I was in a state of shock. But I remember his dad took him out for walks. His dad's really wanted to get out with him. And I was just like, I'm not coming. I need to stay in. You take him. And but it was just very chilled and calm at home. We didn't really, like I said, it was just cuddles and singing for him. I sang a lot to him. Just hold him, and that's all we really did. And it was the best time. I look back when I was in it, I was just like, oh my God, this is so hard, and I don't know if I'm doing a good job. But I look back and I think, no, it was perfect. It was just what it should have been, and that's it. It didn't need to be anything else. It didn't need to be fabulous. It didn't need to have multiple photo shoots or anything like that. It was just exactly what it needed to be. And yeah, I'm forever so grateful for those memories, if I'm honest. But before we knew it, I think, so we had him home for 2 weeks and a bit, if that. And then before we knew it, he was unwell. So leading up to before he ended up being rushed into intensive care, he was becoming like agitated. Like, I couldn't, and it's so frustrating because it was another thing that I felt like I couldn't really articulate, that I felt that something was off. But I just felt that something was off, but there was no actual evidence. Like, he was fine, but he was just getting like really uncomfortable and unsettled at night, and like with his feet and stuff like that. And I was just like, is this normal? But you get told it's normal. It could be gas, colic. So took him to the GP. He had 3 GP appointments. Actually, no, technically, 3 GP appointments. The first one I went, which was like, oh, it's probably just colic. His stomach does seem a bit swollen. Go to A&E. We went. Nothing. Oh no, that wasn't the first time. Actually, it was the second time. So we went. the second time after, again, I went to the GP and they were like, oh, no, nothing, call it, took him to A&E. Again, nothing. They said he's fine. If anything, and I will never forget this, and the doctor was like, if anything, you're overfeeding him. Yeah. And it's weird because I don't really talk about that memory a lot. And I remember how, being feeling so bad, thinking, shit, well, what have I? It's my fault. What have I done? I'm the reason why he's. Like, oh no, you're overfeeding him. You shouldn't be drinking that much. Da, 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 da. So we got left with told we're overfeeding him, and we were sent home with Gaviscon. So that night that we got back, we didn't get back till late at night. Fed him his reduced feed, put him down, and just throughout the night he just started to deteriorate. But because we'd gone to hospital and we've seen other GPs, and I feel like I questioned myself. I was like, oh, we've seen professionals, and me with my postpartum self, literally could barely string sentences together. I was like, surely they're right and I'm wrong, and maybe he's just now, because I've been overfeeding him, this is just him reacting to the overfeeding. He's unsettled, he's agitated. This is me, but he was just, and then as the morning came, he wasn't eating, and I was just like, this isn't right. Called the GP again, got an appointment to the GP straight away, took him to the GP, and this is the last GP we saw before we ended up intensive care. And this GP was like, yeah, no, he's fine, his chest is fine, everything seems fine. Bear in mind, we'd said he's not eating properly, his colour changed, he was just not the same. And I was just like, but there's something off. But again, what do I know? I'm not a doctor. If the doctor's saying he's fine, and we've had all these doctors saying he's okay, then it's okay. Then he must be fine. And even with everything that we told the doctor, and the doctor's seen it himself, the doctor was like, oh no, it's fine. I can remember the doctor was very casual about it. He was like, oh yeah, it's fine. His chest sounds fine to me. But and he said, but you know your child better than me, and if you want to take him to A&E, I'll write you a letter. And honestly, I feel like that's what saved that doctor's job, because there's no way he was fine, and he was just like, yeah, he's fine, just from the doctor saying he's fine, from then being in intensive care, not a lot had changed in that period, and the doctor still was like, yeah, he's okay. And I think if we didn't push to go to A&E, take him to A&E, because I was like, this isn't right. Unfortunately, he would have just passed at home with us. And then, so yeah, anyways, took him to A&E, and this is one of those memories that really sticks in my head. I got to A&E, got to the reception, and I explained to the receptionist what was happening. I was like, he's not eating properly, he's this, he's that. And then the receptionist literally gets up, looks at me, she was like, can I come and have a look at him? And I was like, yeah. I was like, this is unusual. It's a receptionist. What do you mean come have a look at him? So she comes and have a look at him, and she takes one look at him and literally calls a nurse straight away. She was trying to look like a nurse, and thankfully there was actually just a nurse just happened to be there. And the nurse takes one look at him and literally picks him up and runs with him. And I remember just being there with the pram, still holding on to his pram, and just being in a state of shock because nobody said anything. She literally just picks and runs with him, and I was just like, oh. And then when I clocked, then I start running after her with the pram, because I'm just like, what is going on? And then before I know it, I get in there, there's just a team around him, and it was hell. It literally, it was a vision that I wouldn't wish on anyone, because it was just people everywhere saying stuff. Somebody was taking notes. There was a nurse trying to talk to me, and I was just I remember literally being wait, what's going on? I was like, what do you mean? And at the time, my partner wasn't there, and all these people were saying stuff to me, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to do this. He needs this, da 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 da. And I'm in the state of shock. And the next cubicle, my friend was there. So my friend, he's a paramedic, and he was dropping the child at the children's hospital. The chances of him being there. And then like he looks at me, and I look at him, and he's like, "Woman." I was like, "John, wait." He was like, "What are you doing here?" And then it clocks, and then he looks on the bed, and he was like, "Shit." And I don't know, he radios his boss or whatever, and he stays with me until we ended up going to the ward. Because I was just like, what the hell? And then I'm so grateful for him, because he was like explaining everything that's happening, like all the clinical stuff. Like, even though I'm a nurse, I work in mental health, so I don't know what's going on. So he's like explaining all the stuff that's happening, and I'm hearing they're like, yeah, they need to give him ketamine, and I'm just like, what is going on? I was like, ketamine? He's such a little baby. It's to help for the sedating, because they had to put, the stuff all the things that were doing to him, the tubes. Honestly, it was so traumatic. I remember them being like, we advise you not to look, like just stand to the side, because it can be very, very traumatic. But I was like, no, I'm gonna like stand and look. But like, honestly, it was like, it was awful, like them cutting his clothes with him. And then eventually, when they'd finished like putting all the tubes and everything in before they moved him to intensive care, they literally just said, just speak to him and, give him a kiss and everything. And then I had to like call my partner, obviously. I remember calling like my mum and like my good girlfriends, and everybody was just like, what? Like literally everybody was just like, wait, what? Like everyone was just in a state of shock, because it's like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, like he's really unwell. But even then, everyone's like, oh, but he'll be fine. And before we know it, we're in intensive care. And when we got to intensive care, it was literally, I describe it as, it was bad news after bad news after bad news. Like everything that could have gone, it was like, he got there, and first I was a bit optimistic that, it was okay, this is really, really serious, but we've literally got the best people here. Like, I remember my friend John, the paramedic that was with me, and he was saying, he's like, Kayode's literally got the best people, that can be here. Like, Birmingham's Children's Hospital is a really, really good hospital. So like, we're still very positive, and day one, we're still, positive again. He's got a really good team. It's a good place. But like, I remember when one of the mornings when the nurses had said that his pupils weren't responding properly, and, and I didn't say anything, because I was like, I remember thinking, that's not a good sign. Normally that's to do with brain injury. Again, even though I work in mental health, so I'm quite limited, but I know from, if you hit your head and your pupils aren't dilating and blah, 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 that's a sign of a brain injury. And I remember thinking that, but I didn't say anything to my partner, because I was like, there's no point scaring him. And it turns out actually he's okay. But then they did a scan, and they discovered that he'd had catastrophic brain injury, like his brain, like from the brain scan. I remember the specialist saying, like, they couldn't even, like, you couldn't even just tell what was, like, his brain was just, like, he was like, it was really, really bad. And I remember when I got that news, because we had been moved to a different, he had his own room, so he got moved to his own room by this point, so he was in a private room. And I remember my partner had gone home, and I was going to stay the night, and because I was so anxious about the scan, I literally remember being like to the doctor, I was like, oh, have you got the results? You've got the results, not thinking it was going to be the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And my partner wasn't there, but I just thought, if anything, a little bit brain damage, and we can work through, like, we got this, we can work through this. And I remember when the doctor logged onto the computer to get the results and stuff, and just the change in his face. And from the computer was over there, and then he slowly walked up to where I was sat, and I was just like, oh, okay, this isn't gonna be good. I literally, I'm really good at reading people as well, and I was like, oh, this isn't, I remember literally swallowing when he came to sit beside me, and then he said, this is catastrophic, he's not gonna survive. And then I remember I just hysterically was crying. And then he was like, do you want us to tell your partner? And I was like, yeah, I literally was crying so much. I remember I called Charlie, and I literally couldn't speak. And the doctor was there. He was like, oh, I'll speak, I'll tell him. And I can't even remember if I left my phone there or what, but I remember I left the room and then I went to a family room and I was just crying hysterically. And there was this really nice woman that was there and she was just like comforting me. And she was like, oh, do you need to call your partner? And I was like, oh, he knows, he's coming. Just, and like, yeah. And then from there, it was like, end of life kind of thing. And, they just said, yeah, like, even if he survives by miracle, and when like doctors and any specialists use the word miracle, that's not good. It's serious. And then I remember them being like, even by some miracle that he survives, he will not be able to do anything for himself, speak, like just nothing. But they didn't. They weren't optimistic that he was going to survive. To the point that when they were planning to, withdraw his care and essentially turn his machine off and everything, they wanted to do it while we were still at the children's hospital, because they've got like a special bit where people, I guess they move families for the last moments with their babies, and because they were like, oh, he probably wouldn't survive much longer as soon as we take off the breathing machines and whatever from him, because he wasn't taking breaths himself while he was sedated. So they were like, well, but we were like, no, we wanted to go to Acorns because it's just so much nicer. We'd been in the hospital by this point for like a week and a bit. And for me personally as well, from all the hospital appointments from pregnancy, I just felt like I was done being in the hospital. I was like, if he's not going to make it, then he needs to be away from here. Like, you've done your bit. So you got moved to Acorns Hospice, and even that was, it was just a weird moment, because like it's a whole team that they need to move him, obviously, because they move him with all his equipment, all his breathing equipment. So that's like a mad whole team. And even when what they put them in, it's like a spaceship, it's like a little pod for all the wires. So he was put in that, and then we were transferred to Acorns, and then they took all these tubes off, and they just said like, you'll probably like pass or whatever. I remember, the doctor saying, you'll probably get a couple of hours. But he didn't pass. He gave us 3 weeks. Yeah, from 2 hours, a couple of hours to 3. He gave us 3 weeks. And being at Acorns was really, really hard, because I never in my life thought I'd be essentially living in hospice for 3 weeks. Like, it's a crazy experience. But it was a really, really beautiful place. Like, they really, really did everything to make his last moments like comfortable. Like we had our friends and family there, and they did everything for us. Like, literally, they even washed our clothes. Like, literally, I remember being like really worried about them washing my underwear, because I was just like, I don't want you guys washing my underwear. And they were just like, don't be silly, it's fine. It's the last thing you need to be worrying about. I literally thought, I want to go home and wash my underwear. I want to live down the road. But like, literally, like, they fed us. Like I said, the Acorn Hospice in Serio, big shout out. They've got a flat. So we were living in the flat, and the flat comes with 2 bedrooms, bathroom. And so my younger brother and his girlfriend, amazing. They were the most incredible, so supportive. They were with us basically for the majority of everything. From even when we were in hospital, they were. I forgot to even mention like why Kayode was in hospital. Like, everybody took turns to watch him at night. So obviously he had a nurse there, but like family wise, like I remember my dad did a shift there. Like, Lakeland and Amy did a shift there, because nobody wanted us to stay throughout the night with him so we could sleep, because they provide you with accommodation in the hospital, so we'd go and sleep. So Acorns, that was just amazing. So we had 3 weeks of just like making memories. We went to the garden a lot. We took him for walks. Like I said, family and friends came to visit and just hold him and speak to him. And even like when he died, it was not it was just so quick. Like, it's weird to say it was not expected, because it was expected, but it was honestly, it felt like it was out of the blue, which, which is weird because I knew why we were there. But yeah, like I said, like we had the most amazing time that you could have in a situation like that while we were at Acorns. Like honestly, every staff member were incredible, and I feel like they pumped life back into him. If I'm honest, from just like how beautiful that place was and how lovely everybody was. Like they really did. Because no offense to the children's hospital, like they obviously did an incredible job keeping him alive for so long. But I generally feel like him being at the hospice, he got his life pumped into him, but just because the environment was just so positive and everybody was so caring and they loved him so much. They're like, I'm not even joking, that they absolutely adored him. Like, you come down in the morning and somebody would be cuddling him. He wouldn't be in his pram because somebody is cuddling him. They just love it. I'll be like, hey, I'm going to get my baby now. And just like, no, he's just absolutely loved him so much. And, even if they were super busy in the mornings getting other children ready, because it's a hospice, is also like a respite as well. So they still had to get kids ready in the morning, even if they were busy. They'll make sure to bring him back up to me and be like, I'll just put him in his cot and that's just, honestly, they were just incredible. Like I said, if it wasn't for them, I don't think, like I truly believe that if we had decided to stay at the hospital, I think he probably would have passed, if I'm honest. I don't know. Like, obviously there's no science behind it, but I think like just being away from there and being around just pure love and like just all that care meant that it literally gave him just a little bit of a little push just to give us a bit more time because, we needed it. So, it was hard while at the hospice because I really struggled with the difference. So, obviously, before brain injury, his eyes were always just he has big eyes. I think he's got my eyes. So, like, his eyes, like, was always just open and just like his hands were going, just normal baby stuff. And I really, really struggled with the first couple of days at the hospice just because he just looked different as well. He was still just a little bit puffy, and obviously just the movements were like completely different. And a catastrophic brain injury it just wasn't the same. He wasn't the same, and I really, really struggled with that. And I remember like feeling guilty that I was like almost comparing him and feeling like, I didn't know what to like, how to be, because I was just like, I know it's my baby, but like I was like, he's so different, and he felt like, it sounds old, but like there was something that it was different. It's like that part of him that had gone. If I'm honest, I feel like it was like a different part of him, not what we had before, but that had gone. And I remember when he was in hospital, actually, like, not really a memory that I think I've shared with my friends and family because I feel like it's probably quite dark. But I remember when we were in the room, just the two of us, when he was in intensive care, and I was talking to him, and I said to him, I was like, if you need to go, you can go, because like I will be fine. You go, because seeing you like this is hell. Like I hated it, if I'm honest. Like if they told me that there was, the chance that he would have survived and everything would have been fine, fair enough. But like seeing him, like how he was when in the hospital, I was just like, I felt like I'd already said goodbye, which then I felt really bad because then he survived for like 3 weeks after, and I was just like, oh, okay. Like I don't know, but like I said, it was like a different version of him. But yeah. So and it's crazy while at the hospice because he was like doing well. We started like learning how to feed him ourselves. So my partner actually started. He's very hands-on anyway. So he was like learning how to do the feeds. Because I'm actually a qualified learning disability nurse, I actually do know how to do NG feeds anyway. But I didn't do his feeds at all because I just was like, absolutely not. And plus, I was very, very out of practice. I've been working in mental health, so I was just like not doing it. But I remember being like terrified, and it was so confusing because I was like, "Wait, what do you mean we might take him home?" Because he was just this is what it was. It threw me off when he died. It completely threw me off because I was just like, "Wait, we're talking about taking him home, but." I'm like, isn't he gonna die? Like, it was so much things going on in my head, and a lot of the stuff that I just couldn't share with people because I didn't want people to think I was like being negative or like being crazy, because I was just like, wait, no, he's gonna die, isn't he? So why are we doing this? Like, I didn't want everyone to be like, oh, do you not care? But yeah, so the morning that he did pass away, so in the evening I'd actually left the hospice and gone to a friend's. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd gone to a friend's to have a few glasses of wine. I'm going to be honest with you because I needed a break from there. Like, there were days that I'd go home and stuff like that and just chill with the cat for a bit. And it was just an evening that I was like, I need to be out of there this evening. I remember even like the nurses, like on my way out, like, I feel really bad when I leave here. And they were like, no, like, you've got to do what like you need to do. So, I'd gone to my friend's house, 3 glasses of wine, came back, and they're like, oh no, his like chest or his secretions, he's had a lot of secretions, I remember they saying, but they're like, it's fine, you go up to bed, they have him at night. And then came down, they're like, oh, he's having issues with his feed, but they're going to try feed him again at 5. It was his 5 o'clock feed. I think it's 5 o'clock feed. So I was like, so we went to bed, thinking nothing, just issues with his feed. And they're like, you go to bed, come down. So I went down for his 5 o'clock feed, just to make sure everything was okay. So I went down for his feed and I held him and she tried to feed him, but like, there was just, as soon as she tried to, like, she poured milk down and it was, there was like a noise that he was making, and like, literally, she like quickly poured his milk out, and then I could just tell from her face, she was like, no, like, I looked at her. There's a moment we looked at each other, I looked at her and I was like, is it time? And she was like, yeah, I think so. Yeah. And it was like, literally, and then like, before I knew it, she was like telling the HCA, quickly, you need to go and get dad like from upstairs. And then I just had him in my arms and we were moving to another room because he was like, that was like, he was dying. And I was just like, well, by the time we got to a room, he was dead by that point. And then Charlie literally just got down from the flat. Because that's what I mean, like, it literally just happened so quick. Like, even, the nurse there who's been working, she's worked at end of life children's for like, I think she was saying nearly 10 years. And even she was like, she didn't realize that he was going then, just because how quickly, like, honestly, Kayode was just, he wasn't sticking to the rules, because she was like, she didn't even, I remember she felt quite bad about it, and I spoke to her about it, and I just said, obviously, it's not your fault. She was kind of, I just wish I knew, and I could have told you, because it was so quick. I was like, look, your experience, and there was no signs. That's it. I guess sometimes it just happens, isn't it? People just go, and he literally just went, and it was like, that's a whole new thing I can describe it. I was like, I came down thinking, oh yeah, 5 o'clock feed, and she was like, oh, hold him, and then like, he was dead. I was like, it was so confused. I was like, what? And he was just in my arms, and we were just sort of like crying, and I was just like, what? And then we took him back to the flat that we were staying in, and we took him back to the room that we had there. So he was with us, and they have to come and obviously check that he's dead. And I remember she came up and she was like, I'm really, really sorry that I have to do this, but like, obviously it was fine, And then I couldn't take his NG tube out, which really annoyed me, because I just wanted things off him. I just wanted him to be left and just, but we couldn't take him off because it had to be, kind of left as he is. Unfortunately. So yeah, he passed the 14th of February, our anniversary. So that was a great anniversary. And he stayed with us for a couple of days in the cool cot. Thank God for the cool cots. And then he went into another room where they kept him, like a cold room. And then before we knew it, that was only a few days. He was getting taken away, so the coroners or whoever, I think it's coroners, they literally turned up with that horrible black van. Every time I see a black van now with that private hospital thing, it literally makes me want to cry. And they turned up at that, and there was discussions, and we were just like, no, we don't want to. He can't go yet. We need more time with him. And there was there's some discussions about it, and eventually they ended up taking him because they weren't sure if they needed to do an autopsy. So he needed to be kept in such like the right place, the right conditions if they needed to do an autopsy, which was rubbish for us because then we just didn't get the amount of time that we should have had with him after. And then he was gone for like 10 plus days maybe. And then eventually we got him back at the funeral home directory, whatever it's called. That's also a big blur. So he came back there, and so they didn't do an autopsy, which was really annoying because then we just didn't have. He was gone for no reason, and like his NG tube was still on, so nobody had. I remember being really, really upset, thinking that nobody had even like touched him, nobody had looked at him. He'd just been there. And that really, really upset me. And it was like one of these like random things that upset you, that you think out of all the things that have happened, one of the things that really was, even till now, it was triggering was the fact that he still had his NG tube in, and I was just thought nobody had even looked at him. Like, how could you have not wanted to cuddle him? Like, I know it's not for them to, but I was just like, how was he just there alone? So he eventually came back to us, but for me at that point, it was too hard to hold him and look at him and stuff. And I have regrets about it. But for me, it just, when I looked at him for the first time after nearly 2 weeks, it took my breath away. Like, I literally was like, no. I remember I like looked at him and I was just like, yeah, okay. And I just left the room. I was just like, yeah, bye. Like, I'm not. And I just was in the car park the whole time, and my partner and I think his family, they were there with him, but I couldn't do it. That was me. And then I tried again to like, sit and hold him and stuff like that. And I was just like, no, I couldn't do it, and had to say my goodbyes. And that was the last time I saw him, because I just couldn't do it. Like, I know I've spoken to like mums that, was going through like similar things, and it makes it feel really bad. Like, some of them have been able to like hold them for the whole time that, before, the whole time before they were buried and stuff. And I'm just like, I just couldn't do it. I could not do it. And I don't know why I couldn't do it. I think for me, he just looked so different. And I think if I had to, I don't know, maybe if I had more time and I'd sat with it, I would have then been like, when we just, doesn't matter, he's still your baby. But I just couldn't push past it. Like, and everyone's like, oh, he's still beautiful. And I know he was, but he just, for me, it was too different. And I was like, I've said my goodbyes now, and that is the end of it. I think maybe if he wasn't gone for the 10 to 2 weeks, it would have been different if I had him the whole time, and it was like I was with him for the whole, of his body progressing. Then maybe, but because he'd gone and then come back, and it was like it was so different, I was just like, I couldn't. But yeah, and then he was buried 15th of March. He's buried at a natural burial ground, so it's basically looks like a field, but with like people's like plaques and stuff. There's not like loads of things like some people's like graves can have, like, you allowed to have like teddies and loads of things, but because it's a natural burial ground, he doesn't have that. It's just a plaque with his like name and the meaning of his name, and he's buried with like other babies as well. I remember when we were picking his plot, and the lady that was showing us around, she was like, oh, we had a choice, and I was just like, well, I want him to be with other babies and stuff. So he's buried with other babies, and the funeral was, as funerals are, aren't they? They're hard. They're really hard. Especially for a baby. I remember just seeing him and just in his little, I don't like, it's not coughing. I hate that word, little coughing, I guess. Like, it just being like, wow, this is my child, and they're like, that's crazy. But yeah, so yeah, it was very, if I'm honest, like his godmothers spoke. Me and Charlie spoke. Well, I think me and Charlie were meant to. I couldn't speak. Charlie spoke. And then, yeah, that was it. After we had a little wake after, some food, drinks, and I ended up out very late that night. I'm not going to lie. I didn't go home early. My partner ended up home early, and I left him and went out with my other friends that were staying in Birmingham because I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't want to go home. And I remember I was quite, I had a bit to drink, and that was how I dealt with my son's funeral that day. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a few glasses of wine because God.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for so openly sharing. It is honestly so hard, so devastating to live that. It's so hard to believe that one can go through that, seeing your child go before you. And I completely understand what you're saying. It's so difficult to, you've seen how he was with his big eyes, just like yours, and then the deterioration, and then it's difficult to associate. He's different now, right? So I completely understand.
Different. And I was like, somebody swatched my baby. I was like, I literally was like, this, like, what has happened? I literally was like, what has happened? And somebody's playing a sick joke on me. They swapped my baby. Like, it was just, yeah.
You took care of him. And you keep taking care of him still. Like, even with your shirt right now, I can tell you're a mum who takes so much pride in her son. And even that moment where you said it could have been seen as morbid, right? Where you said, if you're ready to go, you can go. But that is mothering. That is what mothering is. You want to make sure that your baby is okay. You can see that he was suffering, and, that was the best thing that you felt you could have done as his mother, to say something like that. So, I just want to give you a hug. Because that's all you can even do. Like, there's not, it's really hard. It's really hard. And I'm so thankful that you continue to say his name. I'm so thankful that you continue to share his story. And especially, like, coming from, our background where we don't do that and we just hide and, we let that sink in. It's good to speak. Like, we need to keep speaking, and grief is a part of life, and we don't have to pretend that they never existed. Like, come on, that's your son forever. Forever, ever? Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, what are the things that you are doing at the moment in Kayode's legacy, in his name? What are you doing, and what do you hope to do? If there's other things that you maybe thought about you'd love to do, what is it that works for you?
So obviously at the moment, like, with my social media, so I talk about him a lot on my TikTok, on my Instagram. It's literally just talking about him and poetry and just about the reality of grief. Like it's just not pretty. I feel like with what's happened with him, I can't just swallow it and suppress it and move on. That I have to have some sort of an outlet, and if it's me talking about it in social media, then that's what I'm gonna do. Because I feel like this is a kind of like grief and trauma that I couldn't just swallow down. Like, there's things that have happened to me in the past that I've definitely tried to just swallow and not even think about, and then it's come back and bite me back in the butt. Like, it's had its other effects on my mental health. So I think with Kayode's death, I thought to myself, this is not something I can just pretend it didn't happen. This isn't like anything else. So I think I started the TikTok, started talking about him on TikTok. I had TikTok before he passed away, but it was just mostly about Simba. So talking about him on my social media, which has been like a big, big thing for me, because I feel like I don't necessarily want to sit and always talk to my friends about it, like, or my family, because I just feel like I don't want to, like, burden them. I know they won't say that, but I don't want to burden them. I don't want to make them feel upset. It's like something that they can't necessarily relate to as well. So having like especially like the Instagram, I've like then made connections, like, you know, people like yourself, especially because they're not like, without having this community where I've been like be able to talk to other people about it. Like I feel like I just feel so isolated. Like I feel isolated already as it is. Like it's weird, isn't it? But without the community, like, and my little social media to keep me going and feel like I've got a little, oh, I'm going to talk about him today, or what photo am I going to put of him today?
Yeah.
I get so much joy from that.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do. Like, you know, our babies aren't here. Like, it's not like
Yeah.
you can't just go and cuddle them, and you know, and if they were here, people talk about their children all the time and have photos of the kids all the time. Literally would spam. I know if Kayode was here, I would have been spamming people as well. So, like, I'm gonna talk about my baby.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you're not comfortable with it, or you feel sad about it, imagine how I feel.
In it. Exactly.
That's always like a thing. But yeah, just writing. I'm hoping once like I'm feeling a little bit better, I say, but like a little bit more alive. You know, I'd like to like do more things and talk about, especially talk about sepsis. I don't talk about that a lot. Like, I do feel like passionate about it, but it's like because it was so traumatic and so hard that even now I'm not even quite even ready to like do a lot of things around that, because it was just, yeah, the whole thing was just so awful. And I feel bad because like I really should be making people more aware of sepsis in babies, because it's, even in adults, you know, it gets missed so often. It's crazy, and especially in babies that can't even speak. So in the future, I'd like to do more stuff about sepsis awareness. So, you know, me getting to know more about sepsis, and actually doing some more reading about it, like maybe talking about it, and but definitely getting people to be aware of the sepsis and the signs for babies. So
Yeah.
that's all for the future. Sort myself out.
No, I mean, it's only been, you've literally just 2 months ago, it's been a year.
You've literally just
So
2 months ago, it's been a
yeah,
year.
it takes it's a long journey, and the fact that you're sharing him already is such a big thing. And do you know what I found? TikTok is a real community. I'm sorry, it's so different to Instagram as well, because I've noticed even in the comments people ride for you, and it's this generation. It's this generation of women where it's like, I'm not going to be ashamed that my child is gone, right? And I'm going to share with the world. I saw this mum on TikTok, and she posted a picture of her son for the first time, but she put like a heart over his face. And then everyone on the comments, like thousands of comments, was like, "Mum, do not hide your child's face." Obviously, it's her choice. She can and she cannot, obviously. But it was, I like the fact that people were so vocal about that your baby has a beautiful face. It was that they were, your baby has a beautiful face. It was that they were saying. Whereas I feel like Instagram is very pretty. Everything's clean cut. Yeah, we can talk about certain things, but we have to be very pretty about it. And like, right? And if you were to share a picture there, I guess it depends, obviously, the community that you can build. But at the same time, there's always going to be comments where people are like, "What are you doing? Put a trigger warning, do this, do that."
My child,
mate.
is not a trigger.
TikTok is a real community.
You know, my child's story is not yes, I know,
you know
it's
what I mean?
But it's not a trigger. It's not a gun. It's not like you're gonna say and
it really isn't.
You know, blow your head off. Like, no,
I'm sorry.
It's not a trigger. I'm gonna talk about it, but I know what you mean. Like, I'm telling you, the community is thank God. I'm not even joking. Like, thank God, because I would have just been like, but I just felt so isolated. Like, you know, God, I love my friends and my family, but like, I wouldn't have wanted to like talk to them about stuff. Like, there's a lot of things that I don't talk to them about, like, you know, and the trauma, and like, because I'm just like, I don't want to upset them, because I know it was a traumatic thing for them too. Like, you know, they saw him at the the hospital. You know, my family, my really good friends all came. Literally, travelled from London. I remember came and saw him, so they've been traumatized too. And because of the type of person I am, I never want to burden people, and I never want to upset somebody. I remember when I came across like you on social media. And before that, I was a bit like, oh God, should I be talking so much about Kayode? It's a bit weird. And I came across like you on TikTok and you on Instagram, and you're very open about it. And I was like, I'm doing that too. That's what
Yes.
and then literally, I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna do that, and it is what it is, and and that's why I made a separate Instagram, because I thought people in my family and my friends can choose to follow if they want to hear a lot about Kayode and about my grief and everything, but they don't have to. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so true, so true. Is there anything that you would like to share? Any last words? Last words, lol. Anything you'd like to add? God.
No, just I say give a shout out. Just to Acorn Hospice. Honestly, Acorns is like, I feel like I could talk about them to the day I die, and I will. Incredible place. So I just shout out to honestly, donate to your local hospice people, and always, just stick with your gut feeling about your babies. Like, if something's off, honestly, trust your gut. And yeah, sepsis is real, guys. Like, if there's any signs and you feel off and like they're not eating, they're off. Like, even if your GP is saying, I think they're okay, just take it off. Just go to A&E. Just go to A&E. Like, yeah, just it's better, because what's the worst that happen? You'll get there and they'll just be like, everything's fine, mummy, and then you're going like better to go, because sepsis works. It's so quick how it happens. Like, the effects on the body, it's so quick. It's time of it. Sepsis and time is like go hand in hand. If you get there early, potentially you could have saved your life or saved a catastrophic like injury or whatever. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on here. And I always end the podcast by saying thank you to our babies. So thank you, Kayode, and thank you, Myla, for helping us meet each other, making the mothers that we are today. And yeah, so much love. Just so much love.
Yeah.
Ooh. So yeah, thank you guys for listening.